I present as black. I see myself. I identify as black. Does someone have a problem with how I identify? With what color I am? I don't see color. Love is blind right here.
Really?
The reason why I'm going to be in January, I want to go to Africa to learn more about the cultures, to avoid misunderstandings.
I turned black when I decided to put on the fuchsia lipstick with the black eyeliner. That's when I turned black. And I used the brown gel to give myself a little baby swoop, the baby swoop. That's when I had decided as a teenager, not when I was born from a black mother or, was raised by a black father and had black sisters. It was when I put that lipstick and that gel on for the swoop. The swoop. That was when I turned black. That was it. Thanks for reminding me of the decision that I made. It's a great decision.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Trending Pulse Worldwide. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I'm so glad you found your way here. This is where we have a real, raw and unfiltered conversations about the real stories the world is watching but not always understanding. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and stay locked in. Now let's get into it. Have you ever seen someone completely change their race? Not just blending into a different culture or learning a language, but literally transforming their skin color, their features, their entire identity, and then saying, I'm black now. Yeah, I'm talking about real people who've done it. And no, this isn't a new trend. We've seen this before from Rachel Dolezal, who lived as a black woman for years while secretly being white, to Martina Big, who went through extreme procedures to become what she calls a black woman. And let's not forget others who made headlines claiming racial identities far removed from the ones they were born with. But here's the thing, no matter how often this story pops up, it always sparks the same heated debate. Can race be chosen, or is it something deeper than appearance and self-perception? Well, buckle up because today I'll be showing you a few of these controversial cases, people who've made the news, gone viral, and stirred up conversations that made folks uncomfortable, angry, or even inspired, depending on who you ask. So let's watch closely, listen not just to what they say, but how they say it. And after the clips, we are going to break this all the way down. So let's get into it.
But what was it that made you realize that you wanted to change?
At first, I only want to have Samaten and this new medicine. They told us it is will protect the skin against the sun and will make more tan. But at this point, they didn't know that it will work really extreme. For me, it works really, really good.
When did you start deceiving people and telling them you were black when you knew their questions were pointed in a different direction? When someone said to you back then, are you black or white? And you'd say, I'm black. You didn't say, I identify as black. You'd say, I'm black. When did you start deceiving people?
Well, I do take exception to that because it's a little more complex than me identifying as black or answering a question of, are you black or white? I was actually identified when I was doing human rights work in North Idaho as first transracial, and then when some of the opposition to some of the human rights work I was doing came forward and started, the next newspaper article identified me as being a biracial woman, and then the next article, when there were actually burglaries, nooses, etc., was this is happening to a black woman, and I never corrected.
Well, why didn't you correct it? You knew it wasn't true.
Well, because it's more complex than, being true or false in that particular instance.
But the cynics and the skeptics will say you didn't correct those reports.
I didn't correct those reports.
Because it worked for you. Because it helped you meet your goals. Is that fair?
I don't necessarily think that's fair. I think not just at that time, but before then too, I have had to answer those who have seen me, and because I'm a black hairstylist, have styled my hair in many different ways, have been identified as mixed, light-skinned, black, etc. And I've had to answer a lot of questions throughout my life.
You've changed your appearance. Your complexion appears darker than it did in the photos of you as a young lady. Have you done something to darken your complexion?
I certainly don't stay out of the sun. you know, and I also don't, as some of the critics have said, put on blackface as a performance.
What color are you? And I know you probably got that question your whole life.
Black.
Oh.
No, for real. My father is black, and he grew up in Harlem. Actually, they lived in the Bronx first, then he grew up in Harlem. He grew up as an African-American man. He served his country.
Beautiful.
And his father's mother, so my great-grandmother, is Venezuelan.
I'm gonna say this. Listen when I say this. Like, listen with your good ear. Like, I don't know who's black anymore. I get on TikTok and I'm scrolling and I can see a white woman talking, but in my mind, she's black. Don't ask me how, but it's just like certain features. I'm like, oh, she black. And I don't care. I'm not saying she talks like me or whatnot. I'm like, I don't care where she's from. I'm like, oh, she black. But then I go on a deep dive and I'm like, oh, she's really white. Because many times I have scrolled and there's a black woman, but she's probably mixed race or maybe not. And she can pass as a white woman, but she's really black. So now I'm just confused. I'm calling everybody black at this point. And everybody might just have a little black in them. You just never know.
Whoa, that was a lot. So let's just put it out there. This stuff gets under people's skin. No pun intended. Because for many black people, being black is not a costume. It's not something you can put on or take off. It's a lived experience that includes everything from systemic racism and generational trauma to cultural pride and deep-rooted community. So when someone walks in and says, I identify as black, it doesn't always land the way they think it will. And even if they say it comes from a place of love or respect, it can feel like a mockery, like picking and choosing the parts of blackness that looks cool without living through the reality behind it. But let's flip it for a second. What if someone genuinely feels disconnected from the culture they were born into and more connected to another? Shouldn't people have the right to define who they are? Is this self-expression or is this crossing a boundary? And then there's the difference between appreciating a culture and actually claiming it. And it's one thing to love black music, wear black hairstyles, or study African history, while it's another thing entirely to claim you are black, especially if you've never experienced what it really means to live as a black person in this world. And this is why it's not just about skin tone or physical changes. It's about privilege. It's about whether you get to opt in and out of an identity that others are born into and often discriminated against for. And let's be real, not everyone can walk away from blackness when it gets inconvenient. So, what do we do with people who say they feel black or they were born in the wrong race? Do we educate them, criticize them, or ignore them? Or is there space to have this conversation without shutting it down completely? Well, all I can say is this isn't an easy topic. It hits people differently, but here's what I want to know from you. Is race something that can be claimed or only lived? Is transformation even genuine in the first place? Or is it always offensive when it comes to racial identity? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. I read everything. And if this video challenged your perspective or made you pause for even a second, then go ahead and like, share, and hit that subscribe button. Because here, we don't just react, we really talk about it. So guys, thank you so much for sticking around and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.